So Nils Regge is the co-founder of Apollo Ventures, and as some of you know, is one of the most successful serial entrepreneurs in Germany. He co-founded many companies, including Home2Go, where we led the Series A. We actually took it public 2 years ago. And now he's gone on to longevity. So some of us in the room can learn a few things here about longevity and staying fit and living longer. And Nils, you're one of the few people I'll ever let come and pitch their fund in front of my LPs, but over to you.
Thank you, Nenad. So I want to speak a little bit about longevity, a word that's been widely used in the last years, and it's getting more and more popular. And speak about my journey, how I got to what we built today. Before I'm an entrepreneur. I've built several companies. Now with Apollo Health Ventures, we have a fund investing into longevity companies, actually. And I think we're one of the very few really true core longevity investors where we really build things that make people live longer. My journey, I started and sold the first company. I started my first company in 2007, sold that in 2009. And that money served as the basis for founding more companies. Up until today, I've sold 6 companies in various different industries. Basically, in 2017, we had 3 exits, 2017, 2018. I thought, what's next? And I was looking in gene editing because that's very numbers driven. It's about statistics and everything. Figured out that that's kind of solved, and the delivery of genes is still the problem, but many companies were already working on that. But people were talking about gene editing and longevity in the same context. So I started looking into longevity and was really fascinated that we're kind of the first generation of humans that really understands what makes us age and how we can impact that. And then looked into first studies in animals where people tried if there is something to increase lifespan of animals, and those things have not been tested in humans yet, and that's what we're working on with Apollo Health Ventures. So does anybody of you know what's the first thing that people discovered that's what's working in longevity to make an animal live longer? Fasting, yeah, pretty much. So it's caloric restriction. And does anyone know who's the most valuable, which is the most valuable company in Europe? It's Novo Nordisk, and it's Eli Lilly. And what these companies are going after is basically the first thing that worked to prolong health span and lifespan in animals. This is the stock market, and it's all based on they have a drug that makes you eat less. This is the first thing 20, 30 years ago they figured out, makes people live longer or makes animals live longer. So that's really in a robust experiment where you have 200 mice eating less and 200 mice eating as much as they want. The mice that were eating less lived 20% longer. That's significant. And now Eli Lilly is kind of running a longevity, in pharma they would call it all-cause mortality study, where they test 13,000 patients, give them the drug, and compare it with 13,000 patients. They let it run for 5 years. It costs probably $3 billion to run that study. But that's the same thing they want to prove is you have lower all-cause mortality. And we're trying to work on the second thing that worked in animals. That's the first company we invested in. The second thing, what was discovered in animals to make animals live longer, is a drug called rapamycin. So, and this data here is not public yet, but this is a study in monkeys where they tested in monkeys. This is a screenshot I took with somebody who's working on the study, so the study is not published. It has been shown rapamycin is working in every animal they have tested it. It's working in mice, it's working in dogs, it's working in rat, flies, worms. Has not been tested in monkeys. And this is the cohort of the monkeys, and these are the monkeys on rapamycin, and they live longer, and there are still 5 remaining. So the study was supposed to be finished already, but it's still running because the monkeys are still alive that are treated with rapamycin. I take personal bets that, you know, if somebody comes to me and says, I'm not going to take rapamycin in the next 5 to 10 years, or a drug that we're working on, I take personal bets that you will take it. And the problem with rapamycin, there's only one slight problem, why is not everybody taking rapamycin, is that the dose that the animals get, the monkeys or the mice, is too high for a human to tolerate. So I know many people in life science already are taking rapamycins. They would take 6 milligrams a week, and the animals would get around 50 milligrams a day. So we found that company that optimizes rapamycin, builds a new drug, new chemical, a slightly changed chemical structure that you can tolerate it better. I'm not going into the scientific details, but it's a drug that does that. And we're now in phase 1 clinical trials. The company has raised 100 million, and it's looking promising. So I have a board meeting right after this for the company, and we're almost done with phase 1, and people can tolerate huge doses of rapamycin. And yeah, so this is kind of the companies we're investing in. So the low-hanging fruits, things that have been proven to work in animals, that we want to transition into humans and bring them into human clinical studies. There's a lot of things you need to do there. You need to understand IP in pharma. You need to have new IP. Some drugs may work, but if you don't get new chemical matter and new intellectual property, then it doesn't make sense to test it. Otherwise, anyone can produce it. And financing rounds, etc. With our company, we pick the low-hanging fruits in the whole industry and build drugs or build companies from that. It's I would say it's even pretty similar to company building in tech. There's a few elements you need to understand, but then the rest is pretty much the same. So you need to have a good equity story. You need to team up with great investors. And it's very exciting. So coming from tech and doing this now. And one thing about pharma, people say, it's taking a long time. I think one thing is particularly interesting is you have a very existing, vibrant ecosystem of buyers for the companies and partners you can work with. That's, I think, the topic with the European tech ecosystem. We need the growth equities that buy the companies. We need a good functioning public market. In pharma, we have the pharma companies, really strategic buyers. That's what's a little bit missing in the European tech ecosystem. And then over the last 9 months, pretty proud of that. With the companies we started, Haya companies, we were the first investor, 1.3 billion partnership deal. So you can really make deals with big pharma companies. Booster and Refoxy are companies we've built ourselves. In Booster, Novo went in with the uncapped convertible. Refoxy, Boehringer Ingelheim invested. So it depends on the stage of the company, but if you're early, they come in with equity as normal investors. Evolution is financed with American team, but financed with Saudi money. They've seen that as the biggest thing. Committing 1 billion a year. The very first investment they have done, I think they have done 5 investments now, was in the rapamycin company I just described. And yeah, it's fun to be here, to have having started with tech and learning with the company building, and then using that for something that does a bit more than saving 3 clicks for the user, what I did with HomeToGo. And we all hope it's working. So that was that. If you have any questions, let me know. Or